Hello, everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D campaign number 1, Under Locks and Keys. When we last left off, the party set their trap with themselves as the bait to capture Captain Imamu Merrick of Plundan, who they discovered had been secretly kidnapping fighters from the tournament and using the Wreath of Apollo to control their minds and turn them into a personal army, with which he planned to get the pirates out of the situation they were in and potentially take over leadership of the Brethren of the Coast, ensuring that he would be remembered for all eternity. However, the party was not about to let that happen, and after a close encounter where Greylog once again died but was brought back, and the rest of the party started to drop like flies, Avaven, I believe, as the last man other than the twins, one of the last men standing, managed to scare off the captain as reinforcements were called, and the captain knew that his back was against the wall. However,
and he dispelled his fucking godly item.
But in the process, the party discovered that he had been in league with the Boomer Gangers. And while he escaped with the Wreath of Apollo for now, he has promised that he will meet you again for a second round, where he intends to come out on top. And given that the round one did not exactly go in your favor outside of outside circumstances, that is an intimidating fight to be had down the road. But, that being said, while the Wreath of Apollo may have slipped out of your grasp, Plundan and its hostages have been saved. Greylog has been successfully revived, and the party is being taken to Plundan's infirmary, where they will receive treatment for the injury of various sorts that has been inflicted on them. And with that in mind, that is where we will pick up. Paul, Avaben, and Asari, along with the twins, the four of you are guided down the halls of Plundan to rest at the infirmary. As you are taken to the infirmary and escorted inside, Asari, you see that Greylog is lying awake in one of the beds. The infirmary itself is a relatively simple room, a wall-to-wall arrangement of simple cots. While there are curtains to be drawn around them, most of them currently lie open. And at the present moment, as the three of you are escorted inside, Asari, as I mentioned, you see Greylog, and Paul and Avaben, you see that the previous fighters who had been captured by Imamu, the Terrafang triplets, the surviving Star Strikers, all the teams you had fought through up to round 5, with the exception, of course, of the Swarm Storm, are lying in various cots, and the gathered Brethren of the Coast stand around the Scorpio sailors' side of the room in hushed conversation with them. However, they fall silent as all of you enter and kind of look almost expectantly. Paul, at a glance, Nitro is nowhere in sight.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Well, I'm gonna go over to Greylog and just, that thing that people do when they're like, making sure that every ounce of the person is okay.
Mm-hmm. Valid. All right. Paul, what are you doing?
Realizing Nitro's not there, Paul would like to go back to Arena 1.
All right. Avaben, what are you doing?
My baby is just like, well, this was an unexpected welcome.
You can see Brother Ares' face kind of crinkle a little bit in amusement. The rest of the brethren are kind of watching you with a cautious expression. To her credit, Brother Cancer, her face remains completely impassive, not betraying any familiarity with your group. Paul, you slip out of the room, and some of the fighters who had been kind of walking along beside you look a little concerned, but don't stop you from leaving. And Greylog, as you revive from your second brush with death while aboard this flotilla, what are you doing?
Honestly, he's probably just going to lay there for a while. He took quite a beating. Well, slashing.
Okay.
So he's just going to rest.
All right. Silence hangs in the infirmary for a moment. The Brethren of the Coast, this twitchy, superstitious, and cornered lot, watching hesitantly as Asari sits comfortingly next to Greylog, who rests in his bed. Paul slips out of the room, and this leaves Avaben and the twins to hover awkwardly by the door, until eventually, breaking the silence, a man steps forward. This figure is familiar to a lot of you, although you have not met the man in person. Although you recall him from the early introductions given at the start of the 6th Septennial Doomspell Tournament. A tall, weathered-looking man with long, curled black hair, and relatively fine-looking clothes, although the leathers themselves are rather simple. A long, kind of reddish-brown coat and hat, and the weathered face, wrinkled and scarred by time and presumably countless battles, and the eyes beady and dark and calculating as they rake over all of you. This man had been identified to you as Brother Taurus, aka the Pirate King, the effective ruler of democratic Nassau and the Brethren of the Coast. He places a hand over the hilt of his cutlass hanging on his belt and kind of passively observes you all for a moment, eyes flicking towards the door where Paul had slipped away. And after a moment's delay, he gives a bow. It's not an especially deep one, but it is respectful. And as he rises, he speaks in a somewhat scratchy and biting voice, seemingly one that has shouted for many a year, and it's starting to take its toll. On behalf of the Brethren of the Coast, I thank you. You have done us a great service. The first mate of Plundan informed us of Captain Merrick's treachery. Were it not for your actions, we may have lost some of our very own. We are not all in agreement. We are not all allies. on Plundan. But let it not be said we do not take care of our own. He gives you a bow and gestures to the gathered brethren behind him. We have agreed that you are to be rewarded. You may not have come to us, but the First Mate's explanation has assuaged us. Well enough, at least, to allow this to go unpunished.
Where is he?
He kind of quirks a brow, and his next question does little to ease your nerves. You are concerned for the life of a traitor. A man who threatened the men, women, and children of Plundan.
I mean, for what it's worth, he did eventually reveal the plan.
And in his defense, how many have y'all threatened in the past in your own actions? Is there really that much of a difference?
And the captain did have something important to him.
He kind of smirks a bit, and I will not begrudge. We here of the Brethren of the Coast are some of the most vile that this world has to offer. But we are told that there are worse among even our lot. Our list of allies grows thinner, and our list of enemies continues to grow. He places his other hand over the cutlass on his belt, and you all begin to wonder if he's a wrong word away from drawing it, but he gives an incline of the head, and for what good it may do you, we of the Brethren are your allies. And in the interest of repaying that debt, I have given leave to a member of the Brethren to reward you. And he gestures, and Brother Cancer, you may step forward. Erica, you guys' silent, mysterious benefactor, steps forward, bowing her pink-haired head, and giving you all the very faintest ghost of a smirk before her face corrects into her cool neutrality as she crosses her arms after her bow, seemingly playing up the role of impatient child as she glances to Brother Taurus, who nods to all of you. While the rest of the Brethren will endeavor to clean up this mess. For now, I will be taking over as Captain of Plundan. We will be ending this tournament. We were here to accrue allies, and yet it seems we have only accrued enemies.
I don't know. Y'all got us. I like to think we're allies now.
Pirate's life, yo-ho.
At this, he actually does give a very faint chuckle, and glancing to you, Greylog, at this, he actually is kind of silent and mulls it over for a moment. After denouncing us as the scum of the earth, you would be our allies.
I wasn't saying that
Pretty
you're
sure
scum.
you've probably called each
I'm
other.
just saying that you don't have any room to be pointing fingers at Nitro, but y'all have probably done worse to your own. Not blaming, just pointing out facts.
Did you hear what Avaven said?
Mm-hmm. As the two of you make your observations, he, again, kind of mulls things over for a moment before... If the opportunity arises for us to repay you further, or we find ourselves in need of your aid, perhaps we will call upon you.
And if we can, we will answer.
You have my thanks. You're not positive if he really believes you or not, but at the very least, he seems satisfied. And looking over his shoulder to the rest of the brethren, he gives a nod. And for now, we have negotiated the end of this foolish tournament, and we will be returning to Tordage. We will resupply there and return to our homelands. We will continue to fight our battle just as you will continue to fight yours. And at this, he turns to kind of look over all of you with an impassive expression. We are many things in the Brethren of the Coast, but fools we are not. You came to Plundan for a reason. No one does good for free.
Is he asking what we came here for?
He's not asking, he's more just stating that he knows you're after something, and he's bearing that in mind while negotiating with you. That, as far as he's concerned, you're not selfless heroes, you're just mercenaries whose goals happen to align with his right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
He actually gives a smile, and then we understand each other. You need not tell me what it is you're after. It is of no concern of mine. And he squints a little bit. I have a suspicion that what you're after is now beyond your reach. Am I wrong?
You'd be right.
At this, he kind of glances to the brethren, who all kind of have an impassive expression of their own, although you can all catch the faintest glimpses of some of them are surprised, a few of them look concerned, and Erica, for her part, just smirks, that knowing smile that she had been several steps ahead of the brethren for months now. If I may ask, what is your interest in the divine doorway?
We want to keep it shut. The Boomer Gangers are trying to open it, and it will not end well for any of us if we manage it.
I've heard stories of what lies behind that door. Tales of great treasure, of powerful weapons. Things that would be quite useful to the Brethren of the Coast in our current situation.
There's also a curse. Yeah.
We pirates are no stranger to cursed treasure.
That's the thing. It's not.
It's not really one of those curses you get around. It seems to be just a straight curse of death.
He kind of mulls.
Not one of those curses where you could just gather all the treasure back up and cut your hand open and get rid of it.
He kind of gives a nod of consideration, and his expression is unreadable, but he and the brethren are silent, but eventually. Very well. If we are able to locate another of the keys, we will pass word along. The least we can do as payment. But I will not let stories of deadly curses dissuade me from seeking out something that can save my people, to save our way of life. We will not battle you for this treasure, Divine Five, but rest assured, we will be watching and waiting. If you stumble, if you fail, if your treasure falls into the wrong hands, we will be there to pick up the pieces, feed upon the scraps, and if the gods are willing, we will leverage this curse against the enemies of the brethren.
That sounds more than fair. And should it prove not to be a curse and it is treasure, well, who knows? There's more than in there than what any normal person could easily spend a lifetime.
You can see Erica kind of smirk a little bit, and for the first time she actually pipes up without leave from the king. Try me. Be that as it may. Indeed, if the legends are true, there is more than enough treasure to satisfy us all. For now, we have come to an understanding. Plundan and the Brethren of the Coast, thank you for your actions here today. We will escort you back to Tordage, where you birthed from, at which point you have our leave. We will be returning to Nassau and to our various territories, but we will be keeping an eye on you going forward. You are drawing the eyes of underground factions around the world. The more keys you accrue, the more attention you garner, and everyone is going to want a piece. He gives a bow, and with his ominous warning hanging in the air, he snaps his fingers, and the brethren all stand at attention and give a shared bow, and begin to, one by one, file out. The various famous pirates who command fleets at their sword begin to file out of the infirmary. A few of them give mumbled farewells to either all of you or the Scorpio sailors, who is currently still in bed recovering. And finally, the only ones left in the room with you are Brother Scorpio, who is recovering in bed, Brother Cancer, who has been entrusted to reward you by leave of the Pirate King, and Brother Ares, who hangs back a bit as the crowd of pirate lords leave, and kind of hovers by the door looking down at you, Vaben.
I don't think I've ever been in the presence of so many quote-unquote lords.
Brother Ares kind of gives a derisive snort, and I'll not have you throwing around words like lord in my presence.
I mean, I guess, or whatever your equivalent is. People of importance.
We go by brethren. We're not any more important than anyone else. That's the idea, anyway. We came to Nassau to escape lords and ladies. Well, lords at any rate. And he kind of gives you a wink.
Well, it's
He's
good to see that nothing drastic had to be done for your crew member.
he's silent for a moment and initially doesn't answer, but
You did get the warning, right?
indeed, I had stayed here to thank you for more than you know. You didn't just save my powder monkey today. Nitro told us that had you not stopped the captain here today, he would have gone after my son.
Was he being nosy or something?
His brow crinkles and his nose furrows. Far from it. Well, the boy's always nosy, but no. Simple bait. Lure me in. I was the one, perhaps being a bit too nosy for my liking. Erica pipes up as she leans against Brother Scorpio's bed and inspects her nails. Yeah, you do have a bad habit of sticking your nose in other people's business, don't you? He scowls at Brother Cancer, and you can feel the, sparks of animosity between the two of them. But while he looks at her with anger, she just regards him with cool, passive indifference. Don't be mad at me, Robert. You almost got your son captured. She inspects her nails and asking about the rumors of Plundan to the captain's face, threatening him if he didn't give you answers. What did you think he was going to do? Learn from your mistakes, Robert. That's the only way Nassau's going to survive. He continues to scowl at her for a long moment before he doesn't respond to her. He just turns back to you, Avaben, and the twins. Regardless of my failings, you saved the life of my crew and my son, and for that I'm grateful. And his lip kind of curls into an unpleasant smile. And Brother Cancer has a bad habit of not rewarding people as they deserve. So if you find yourself disappointed with your take of the loot, feel free to come to me, and I'll happily reward you as you deserve. It's the least I can do. Erica kind of rolls her eyes and leans off of the bed to approach him and kind of whacks him in the side. All right, enough of the passive-aggressive bullshit, Robert. Fuck off. He scowls down at the girl, and you have no right to order me around. This far away from your ship and its cannons, I can order you around as much as I like. Besides, I have negotiations, and you don't want to leave your little boy alone, do you? The two of them kind of size each other up for a moment, and eventually, seeming to concede that he doesn't have any further business here to further distract her, he scowls down to her before giving all of you a nod, and much as the brethren had, a bow before, with a huff, leaving. And you get the impression he kind of deliberately kicks up some dust from the floor towards Erica out on his way out before the door is shut behind him.
And are all of you like that?
Not all of us. Mostly just him.
I mean, like, do all of you argue like that? No wonder you can't do anything about your problems.
She kind of rolls her eyes, and... Correction. They can't do anything about their problems.
Sounds like all pirates are facing problems.
She wags a finger up at you and approaches Greylog and Asari. You're not wrong about that, but I'm not a pirate. And she hops up to sit at the foot of Greylog's bed and kind of kicks her feet playfully as she leans back.
Do others see it that way?
They see whatever I want them to see. I run this fucking town.
If I look at her, is she giving me like magic vibes? Like, is there illusion there?
Make an Arcana check. Or actually, no, if you're trying to see through illusions, make a perception check.
Illusion.
You said Arcana?
Well,
Perception.
yeah,
Okay.
if you're trying to look through illusionary.
Oh. Well, does saving your little side, apparently side
that was
job,
my
get us
little-
a bigger cut?
She smiles at you and kind of glances to Asari out of the corner of her eye. Asari, what'd you roll?
I rolled a 19 total.
You kind of look her up and down. You don't see any sign of illusory effects, but yeah, it does jar you how jaded and worldly such a young girl sounds. And she doesn't appear to be casting an illusion. You get the impression that wherever she comes from, she's just had a rough life that's conditioned her to be this way. As far as you can tell, nothing about her seems unnatural beyond just that she seems really jaded and probably has some prodigal intelligence, but beyond that, just a foul-mouthed and cruel little girl who has more power than really anyone her age rightfully should.
I'll just kind of look at her through the corner of my eye. Keep my thoughts to myself.
She smiles at you before turning her gaze back to Avaben lazily. Indeed it does, Mr. Oglatha. Ordinarily, by right of the tournament, you would be allowed to keep one item that you grew fond of in your time in the tournament, but seeing as we've only made it 5 rounds in, and it's about to be cancelled most likely, she kind of hums to herself and... Would you consider allowing you to keep everything you've gathered so far to be fair payment? None of it's mine, so I don't care if you take it.
I guess that's fine.
Good. Then we understand each other. She glances to Brother Scorpio, who's leaned up against the back of the bed,
Oh,
given
yeah,
that he
that's
had
right.
been...
We're in a room full of people that we beat.
But
I hope
at
they
the
don't
moment,
hold any grudges.
Brother Scorpio kind of quirks a brow and... Well, your defeat was less than honorable. He gives you a filthy-toothed grin. I humbly accept your apology. He glances to Erica, who kind of stares at him coolly in return. And after a moment's consideration, she pipes up, seeming to be directing this more at him than at any of you. I keep quiet about your operations, you keep quiet about mine? Agreed. She gives him a smile and turns to look over all of you. That said, her face becomes far more unpleasant as she looks over all of you. You let him get away with my key.
No, I'm sure he's already promised we'll run into him again. We'll just have to work around it for now.
We better hope so. Brother Taurus wasn't joking. You guys are drawing a lot of attention to yourselves. The bees without hives, the brethren of the coast, the boomergangers. Everyone's got eyes on you. You and the boomergangers are, as of right now, in something of a draw for who gets to decide the fate of the entire world. She looks up at the sky, and within a month, it will have been a year since the Divine Council assembled. That means the meeting's going to be coming to an end soon, which means they're going to notice that their things have been going missing.
Well, it would help if they could figure out exactly what is behind that door, so a final decision on what to do about it can be made.
Her brow kind of twitches, and she is silent for a long moment before crossing her arms in thought. And regardless of what's behind it, I didn't survive this long and make it as far as I did, not having control of something valuable. You all have, and she kind of does kind of a quick mental tally. We have 3 artifacts. The Boomergangers have 1 now. That means the door's halfway to being open.
Actually, they have 2.
At this, her eyebrows actually shoot up, and she cranes her neck to look over her shoulder at you, Greylog. Okay?
Or at least that's what Lady Hella told me.
At this, you can see her expression becomes a bit unreadable. Lady Hella, you spoke to the goddess of death.
Goddess of death.
Yeah, he does have a tendency to die a lot.
I noticed. She kind of stares at you for a moment, and she knows what we're doing.
Yeah, she does.
At this, she sighs, and to your surprise, she smiles and claps her hands together. Excellent. Then, that's good news. That means we're not on the clock.
Yeah, because honestly, how could she not know? Really think they don't know already that we've taken a few? They are gods after all.
Gods aren't as all-knowing as they want you to think.
Yeah, and underestimate them and you'll end up dead. So, better to assume all knowing and be prepared.
She kind of rolls her eyes a little bit, but doesn't begrudge you further as she kind of pats her legs in thought. Well, in that case, thank you, Mr. Orchin. You've more than earned your keep. And she looks you up and down, Avaben. You've impressed me as well. Getting to see you fight in person was entertaining. She cranes her eyes over to you, Asari, and I get the feeling you're going to be very useful to me, so try not to die. She blows some of the hair out of her face and leans back. With Lady Hella knowing what we're doing, she'll do everything in her power to buy us time. Keep the gods arguing. Make sure the meeting goes on for as long as possible. Which means we have time to find the remaining keys. I'll trust her word and trust that you weren't just having post-mortem hallucinations. In that case, we have 3, they have 2. Which means there's only 3 left. You can see she licks her lips and her gaze brightens highly. We're so close to the treasure. I can almost taste it.
Now we just need to see if there's any weird goings on or any tournaments happening with a godly prize, and they'll probably find the next one.
That's the spirit. She kind of leans back.
To recap, the breastplate was causing a massive storm where it was.
Yes.
Was there any like effects from the pistol?
The Dark Elves and the Boomer Gangers were basically at active war over it.
And then, was the compass involved in some situation?
No, you guys just convinced Blue Moon to hand it over. She was instructed to guard it, but you guys bought her loyalty.
Fair enough. Well, the way I see it, it's either going to be somewhere where there is a massive ward over it, somewhere where there is some kind of natural disaster of untold proportions, or a tournament.
Maybe, although I doubt things will repeat in exactly that way, but we'll see. She gives a shrug and hops off the bed.
I mean, the gods were always ones for the overdramatic.
There's more than one way to be a drama queen. She brushes the hair over her ear and looks over all of you. Give my regards to Paul, and stay on track, stay focused, try not to lose the next one. I'll pull some strings, see if I can't help you locate the next one. And she kind of thinks for a moment and grins. And from what I heard, you seem pretty worried about what happened to Mr. Nitro. So you'll be happy to know that he's safe. I managed to convince the Brethren to go down from execution and torture to exile.
I was gonna say, surely revealing the plan would be worth at least a drop a step down to exile.
Ordinarily, we would have been a bit harsher about it, but she gives a broad, but you get the impression, insincere smile to all of you. I just like you so much that I decided to do you a favor. I'm sure you'll pay me back for it.
I'm sure you get something out of it.
Indeed I do.
Yeah. The open door.
You're damn right. Or, if all of your babble about a curse is true, the best ransom the world has ever seen. I could get kingdoms to bow to me with that kind of pull.
Yeah, I can see it now. Pay me what I want, or we open the door and destroy your entire civilization.
Smart boy. Maybe you're not stupid and crazy.
Given the problem with
Oh
that
no,
kind of thing
I
is,
am.
how can you make money off the world if there is no world? What do you do if someone calls your bluff?
Who says I'm bluffing?
Well, it doesn't seem very profitable to destroy everything.
It'll teach the next people to come along that I mean business.
Next people, that assumes you're still around too. You live on this world as well.
You think I don't have insurance?
Hopefully it's curse-proof.
She gives you a grin and doesn't elaborate any further. Just gives you all a nod and... Well, thanks for saving my skin, if nothing else. I'll consider that a fair trade. I save your mate's life, you save mine, we're square. But... And she holds up a finger and grins. You still owe me for all the little pretty valuables I'm letting you keep from this ship. So, we'll call that insurance to ensure you don't fuck up the next one. The way I see it, you owe me 8 keys, You have 3, and we've located 2. Get me the next 3, and once I have all the keys in hand, we'll call it square. And don't worry, I'm willing to include you in my insurance plan if the need arises, assuming you can pay.
Very well.
Yeah, of course.
She tosses her hair and gives you all the flashy grin of a salesman who just completed a great deal, and turns on her heel, and with no bow, just a casual wave over her shoulder, she steps out of the room and shuts the door behind her.
And while her leaving, everyone's gonna be like, yeah, that's a problem we're gonna have to cross when we get there.
Amen. That's why you
But
don't
by
put
that point,
children
we'll
in
have
power.
8 godly items in our possession.
Brother Scorpio has like held up a leg to rest his arm on his knee, and he kind of smiles with that kind of knowing smirk as he looks over all of you, and leave it to Brother Cancer to find a way to escape the end of the world.
Well, as if she actually does have a way and not just bluffing. She was a good bluffer.
That she is, mate. And he kind of pauses, and you realize he's listening to see if she's still nearby before he says his next piece. For what it's worth, if you are planning to turn on your oh-so-generous benefactor, I'm willing to negotiate.
Well, we turned on one already, if you didn't notice.
He gives you again a filthy tooth grin, but leans back
You
and
do know that if we do turn on them, it's probably going to be to make sure that door stays shut, right?
There's a pause as Asari and Greylog don't answer, and Brother Scorpio just leans back, seeming tired. Your words hang silent as whether the door is going to be open or shut suddenly seems a lot more in question than it had before. Paul. As you make your way, exhausted, back through the halls of Plundan, you make your way back to Arena 1. You see that the fighters are still gathered there, seemingly led by the champion, who's, from the looks of it, overseeing getting the people under the arena out of it. You see that they've basically just blown a hole through the floor and are laying down ropes to help either hoist them out or, if they are strong enough, climb their way out. And the various fighters, primarily of the Major League, are helping the fighters recover. Any element of competitiveness, either with the tournament essentially over or simply because this takes priority, seems to have been largely set aside in favor of, you're at least pleased to see, genuine cooperativeness, as they seem genuinely interested in ensuring these people are safe. As you approach, Paul, what do you do?
He will help to his best ability to help, like, get all the people out, but his main focus is trying to find the brother.
Make a perception check.
I'm crappy at that. Ooh. 5.
Paul, you search the arena. You can see various people, largely elves, you notice, being tended to by the fighters. You recognize a few of the major league fighters who give you nods and greetings as you pass by. A few of your minor league friends who most of them appear to be gone, although you estimate they're likely keeping their word to search Plundan to find, to try and find Imamu if he's still on board. The champion focused on helping the people first and foremost. Whether that's for attention or just because it's the right thing to do, you're not sure. And it seems like you're not going to be able to find him at first until you feel a tap on your shoulder.
Guess I will turn around.
As you turn, you see the figure that you had glimpsed down in the prison beneath the arena, but hadn't had much of a chance at the time to address it. A blue-skinned figure who looks very similar to Nitro, but younger and frailer. His cheeks are sunken from starvation, and his hair is graying rather than Nitro's beautiful, buoyant turquoise. But his eyes glitter with gold as he looks you up and down and points a kind of disheveled-looking finger at you. I know you. I saw you. You saved us.
No. It wasn't just me. I mean, I tried to take care of the man controlling you, and it didn't go as well as we planned, but worked out in the end.
He kind of gives a solemn nod, although you get the impression there's something further on his mind. How did you find us?
Well, did know. Do you? I must ask. Do you happen to have a blade on you?
He looks a little surprised, but nods and gestures to his side, where you can see two blades similar to the ones Nitro wields. I always carry two. Monosteel.
Well, I think what was the name of the blade again? Their weird childlike names.
You remember that he named it Mush.
Well, don't believe I remember hearing you have a second blade, but I was tracking a blade by the name Mush.
His eyes kind of widen and he looks down to the blade on his right side and kind of lifts it, still sheathed, and kind of hugs it to himself, almost kind of fawning over it. And he starts to speak in a language you don't recognize. But while you don't recognize what he's saying, you can tell a sense of gratitude when you hear it. And he seems like he's thanking his blade in some foreign tongue for indirectly saving him.
And he'll put his hand on his shoulder and, well, I was tracking your blade because of your brother was looking for you. Not sure where he is now, but
Nitro.
yes.
His eyes kind of water and he shuts them and runs a hand over his jaw and covers his mouth. As you can see, his body start to shake a little bit. I thought he had forgotten me.
No. Didn't seem like that, as it seemed like his entire goal was to get you back.
He shakes further and his shoulders kind of jerk, and seeming too just exhausted and weak to directly sob, he just starts to kind of shudder with silent cries as his eyes water, and he runs a hand kind of in a twitchy frenzy over his face and hair, and he looks to you with wide, teared eyes. It's been so long. What if he doesn't remember me? What if he doesn't recognize me?
Well, I'm not sure what you looked like before, but I can't really say much a track record, but I assume even if he doesn't recognize you, you can still find a way to bond back together. Looks aren't really the important part. It's what you do with the bond you make.
He kind of stares at you, seeming to be like hanging on your words before swallowing and giving a nod, kind of trying to calm himself to the best of his ability, although he still seems pretty shaken. And thank you. What's your name?
Paul. His name is Paul. I guess he'll kind of look around. He's like, I'm not sure if they have anything set up, but maybe we can get you something to eat or drink, and if you need any medical attention, I can provide that.
I'm starving, but that can wait. I need to find him.
Well, I would help you, but my magic is run quite dry, and
That was a hard-fought battle. I may not have been able to act, but I watched.
yeah, hard fought, but sadly wasn't enough.
At this, he actually gives you a friendly smile and tilts his head. I wouldn't say that. I had always been taught growing up to show no mercy, but my time down here has made me rethink a few things. And you may not have stopped him for good, but you saved all of us. 100 years, trapped, unable to do anything but listen as life went on above us.
Yeah, I mean, my main goal was to save y'all once I heard about what was going on, but I would have liked to stop them and, I guess give them to the pirates, see what they do with them.
Well, all is not lost, Paul. You saved us, and for that, I'm grateful. I may not be captain anymore, but he kind of gives you a shy smile. I used to be a pretty formidable fighter back in the day. Once I found my brother, and we've decided what we're going to do next. You'll always have an ally in me. In all of us, I think. And he looks over the various immortals and longer-lived species who have been at Imamu's mercy for a century. Thank you again. I need to find my brother, but come and find you, and I'll find a way to repay you for this. But don't linger on the minor losses and bumps in the road. You won this battle. You survived. Your friends should be fine. Your friend, uh, the elemental, is he all right?
Uh, uh, it looked a bit dicey there, but he seems to have pulled through.
He gives a smile and a nod, seeming genuinely happy for you, and then all is well. An enemy escaping does not mean the battle is lost. It means you have another chance to win the next time. And you saved my life. To me, that makes all the difference. He gives you a smile, and I've learned that there are more important things than winning battles. Don't make my mistakes. He kind of twitches a bit nervously before lunging forward and pulling you into a hug. Thank you.
And Paul will kind of like, sort of just pat him on the back, and there's no need to thank. I was simply doing what I felt was right.
He smiles as he pulls back and wipes at his eyes. You're a good man, Paul. If there's anything I can do for you, well, he gives you a smile. And you see a bit of a twinkle return to the otherwise expressionless eyes. If you ever need me, you found me once, you can do it again.
I guess, if you ever need to find me, I do, may not be there all the time, but I tend to stay down that little town below.
He kind of tilts his head and thinks for a moment before. My brother and I will need to decide what to do. I'm in no state to Captain Plundan, and frankly, I'm pretty eager to get off this hunk. I hope our paths cross again. Thank you for everything. I could never repay you for this, but I'll certainly try. What will you do now?
I'm not too sure. I mean, my team and I, and really, I guess we're gonna have to talk about what the next step is. I mean,
He gives you a smile and always the next adventure, huh?
till no good until the good deed is done.
He gives you a smile and I'll never forget this. I hope our paths cross again, but even if they don't, I promise you, you and the Divine Five will go down in Atlantean legend as some of the greatest warriors to have ever lived. He kind of composes himself and holds out a kind of malnourished and weak-looking hand to you. Until next we meet, Paul.
He'll accept his hand, just making sure not to go too hard, like a very light handshake to, make make sure I don't hurt him.
He gives you a smile and clasps your hand in both of his and shakes it and gives you a wide, beaming smile before pulling away. And he kind of looks over the gathered fighters and nursing victims before starting to slowly, almost as if he's like kind of finding his footing, walking towards the exit of the arena. And you get the impression, if he's anything like his brother, he will search the ship head to toe, every plank and board, until he finds Nitro.
Kind of see as he's, good and dandy now. Paul will kind of just look back to all the people who are, being. He'll kind of just, be there to help out. If he has to heal, he has some healing magic left, so he'll heal some people. Basically, he'll just help out around where he can.
Paul, you join the Major League fighters in treating the wounded. Thankfully, for the most part, physical injury is rather minimal. It is mostly malnourishment and trauma.
Yeah.
But you listen, and many an elf and immortal sobs as they thank you gratuitously for saving them, rescuing them from the awful fate that the Captain of Plundan had been intending to subject them to. A life of being a soldier at the beck and call of the man who controlled them, with intent to use that army to stake a claim on the world for pirates. Tears are shed, and your hand is shaken, and you're hugged so many times, more in just this one day than you have in the past year. But as you're overlooking and you're receiving the next bout of thanks and sobbing gratitude from an elvish man, Tamatwa, the champion of Plundan, sits next to you, leaning on the Spear of Ares, as the woman takes some rations from one of the Major League fighters and fills her aching stomach, and Tamatwa kind of looks to you in consideration. He's silent for a long moment, almost seeming genuinely uncertain of what to say, and finally, when he pipes up, you get the impression that he's just trying to fill the silence with what he says. So, I take it the tournament's cancelled?
I mean, unless someone's willing to be the new, I guess, captain of the ship. And also that the fighters are even willing to fight.
He kind of crosses his arms and furrows his brow as he leans back. Damn shame. I was looking forward to our bout, Butler of Brutality. But I guess it'll just have to wait. From what I hear, you got bigger and better things ahead of you. Well, not quite as big and good as me, but just about something there.
Yeah. Not really sure what's the next step forward is, but I have people who are smart enough to figure that out.
That's the spirit. Have other people do the thinking for you. He gives you a grin and leans forward against the spear, and he kind of twirls it contemplatively as he looks over the bronze design. The little pixie told me that this ain't the last time you're gonna be dealing with some big shit.
Hmm. Probably not. Yeah, we've been dealing with a couple of, I guess you could say, as you just said, big shit.
He gives you a grin at your imitation and doesn't sound as good when you say it, but nothing sounds as good when people imitate Tomatwa. And he flexes. Ordinarily, well, with the tournament over, thought maybe I'd. And he kind of rolls his head side to side and thought, I'd see about joining you. Going on some grand adventure. But he sighs and looks over the Major League fighters and, well, I got business here, I think. These people need someone to look after them.
Yes. I'm not sure if we're staying, or at least I don't know how long if we're staying long, but if I do end up staying for at least a day or two, I don't mind helping where I can.
Yeah, it sounds like you.
I mean, if I can help, why not?
He kind of stares at you for a moment, seeming kind of thoughtful, and what he says next actually kind of catches you off guard. You know, I think if more people were like you, the world would be a better place.
Not sure if I'd ever thought of it that way, but
You deserve more credit than that. You're not just a butler. You did a lot of good. The captain was right next door to me plotting all this, and I had no idea.
I wouldn't really feel too bad. And frankly, I was oblivious to it all as well until, well, as I mentioned, I had smart friends who figured it all out and informed me.
How far would they have gotten without you?
Yeah, not sure if me being there made much difference. I mean, well, I did do my best to protect him, but especially with this fight today, it seemed like couldn't reach them in time.
He kind of contemplates for a moment before giving a nod. Well, I don't know if that's true, but lesson learned for next time. He looks over the crowd and eventually, without a word, holds the spear out towards you.
Because he'll look at the spear and he'll kind of just look confused.
Tomato kind of rolls his eyes and smirks at you. Way I see it, you beat the captain in a fight. That makes you champion. Besides, he gives a shrug. Fighting's over, so I get the impression I probably wouldn't have had it for much longer anyway. It might not be what you're looking for, but maybe it'll help you out. And he swirls it so that the business end is facing away from you and the handle is out towards you. You can't save everybody. Sometimes you're gonna have to hurt people to protect those you care about. Way I see it, you might as well have the tools to do it right.
Hearing those words, he kind of just looks down and thinks for a minute. Don't. I really prefer that not to be an option, but Seems that may be the case.
Well, you surprised me once. Maybe you'll do it again. I'd like to see that, if you live to see the next tournament. The Butler of Brutality makes a comeback. Fights Tamatwa and beats him without even raising a fist. Wouldn't that be something? Well, I'll keep it if you don't want it, but I think the championship title's yours. May not have been a conventional victory, but I don't think anybody here is going to argue with it. And if they do, they're going to have to answer to Tamatwa. And he flexes.
Well, he'll sort of grab the handle. I'm not sure if I really deserve much of it.
Enough of that shit. Let's be real. And he crosses his arms and furrows his brow. The captain had me played like a fiddle. And if you'd beaten me, I probably would have been down there with the others. He quirks a brow at you, and as far as I'm concerned, saving my life and beating me in a fight may not be the same thing, but it's something. Like I said, I'm not going to hear any bullshit about you not earning this, and that includes you, brother. And he puts an arm on your shoulder, and once you said you had kind of hesitantly gripped it, he kind of more forcefully jolts it into your hand and releases it. The spear is incredibly heavy, and you find yourself wondering how the man twirls it like it's nothing. But he puts a hand on your shoulder and grips it, and I'll see you around. And I don't know if we're gonna run into each other again. I got business back home, and I need to take care of these here folks, and from what I hear, you got shit that goes way over my head to deal with, so I'll leave you to deal with your shit and I'll deal with mine. But he's kind of quiet for a moment, and if you guys ever need a place to stay, and he kind of rolls his hand uncertainly. Well, I know your little friend, the Underdark Underdog. He's had it pretty rough from what I hear. I doubt he's interested in coming back to the Underdark, but if he is, and you all need a place to go, come and find me. I'll put you guys up.
Perhaps. I mean, we're traveling quite often to place, so we may find ourselves in the Underdark once again.
Well, in that case, I'll see you then, brother.
I'll see you then.
You take care of your little friends. I'll take care of mine. And, I don't know. I've only heard stories about what's behind that door, but whatever it is, well, he gives you a grin. You earn my respect, so far as I'm concerned, you can handle whatever it throws at you. You better not embarrass me. If that curse makes you look like a joke, that makes me look like a joke. And nobody makes Tamatwa look like a joke. You got me, brother?
I got you.
He gives you a grin and pats you on the back. And after a bit of hesitation, nods and steps away to tend to someone else, as, being Paul, you do the same. Do any of you have any business you wish to conduct before Plundan returns to Tortage?
I was thinking that Greylog would like to go see if he can't find Vampire Sisters. He just has a few questions.
Okay. Anyone else?
Also kind of forgotten about them. Just gonna make sure people are well taken care of.
Okay. If that's everyone. Plundan largely turns to something resembling its old routines. Captain Merrick is nowhere to be found, and eventually the Brethren of the Coast come to the conclusion that somehow, despite none of the longboats being missing and all of the ships still being present, he hasn't smuggled his way aboard as far as they can identify, so he's either very good at hiding or he had some alternative means of escape. Regardless, they're confident that he's no longer aboard. And as promised,
Tristan, when Greylog also mentioned to him about that escape route that they had in the engine room.
well, bear in mind, they know about that. That's what I was saying, that none of the longboats were missing.
Okay.
Although they do thank you for the information, but yeah, they reassure you that they've checked, and well, it's not exactly reassuring. They know if he did escape, he didn't escape that way. Paul, you oversee the recovery along with Tamatwa. The various immortals who had been held hostage by Imamu regain control of themselves and begin to slowly recover. The minor league fighters recover quickest, as they had been dealing with those circumstances for the shortest time. It takes a lot longer for the fighters of the previous tournament to find themselves again. They're dealing with a lot. Paul, many of them awaken with nightmares or uncertain if they're going to lose control of themselves the next time they wake up. But slowly and bit by bit, you and Tamatwa oversee their recovery and ensure their safety. As Plundan turns around and begins to course towards Tortage for the pirates to part ways in a safe harbor, the tournament concluding far quicker than they intended, but the circumstances needs must. You don't see much of the Brethren themselves. Brother Scorpio recovers after only a couple days in the infirmary and parts ways from all of you, giving his gratitude and farewells, but beyond that, saying nothing more. Not picking a fight with Greylog, although he has said that he accepts your apology of the indignities you put him through. And he speaks no further of the negotiations he overheard that you had with Brother Cancer, or him throwing his own hat in the ring on the matter. Avaben, you do catch wind through the rumor mill as you and the other party members recover from the battle with Imamu that the Bees Without Hives, the Dark Elf mercenaries you had encountered going after the Forgecast pistol, had been aboard Plundan this entire time, but given the disappearance of the captain and the sudden change in circumstances, they've elected to stay out of your way, seeing as neither of you got to lay claim to this artifact. The rest of the Brethren remain largely out of your way. Erica does not pay you any further visits. You suspect that given she has nothing to gain, she doesn't particularly care to. But Brother Taurus takes over as Captain of Plundan. Where Nitro and his brother are, none of you know.
Avaben's gonna need a drink after this one.
As you're all recovering in the infirmary, Greylog, the Terrafang triplets had woken up a few days ago, but given that they were not exactly in a great state, I imagine you would be willing to give them a little bit of time before you approach them. But once the both of you are well enough recovered and the Terrafang triplets are about to be let out of the infirmary, you approach them with some business. And they kind of look at you with a little bit of surprise as you approach.
I just had a couple questions. Especially after that one round where we got to be like y'all. It spiked my curiosity.
You can see one of the sisters scowls a little bit and just, don't remind us.
Yeah.
The older sister kind of holds up her hand and crosses her arms politely. Go on.
I was just wondering, is there a way, like, what all happens if you're bitten? Like, do you always become under the control of the one who bit you? Do they get to keep their own free will? How does that work?
The three of them kind of glance to each other and then to you, and she sighs and, you always are under the will of someone else. Your life is bound to them, body and soul. There is only one undead in this world who is truly free. And even he is just as much a prisoner of the infection as the rest of us. Do not make the mistakes we did.
Well, didn't Paul mention that he would be able to try to cure you?
They give a bow, and he did. But I am afraid it may be beyond him, beyond his means.
Would you be willing to let him try?
They kind of quirk a brow, but certainly. But we will harbor no ill will if he fails. We had been hoping
Well, if you're
to...
free now, we could go see if he's available.
At this, she actually gives... They all give a smile, and... I suppose you're right. You all freed us from one master. Maybe you can free us from another. And if not, well, we were planning to use our winnings from the tournament to seek out a cure. But I suppose nothing's stopping us from searching anyways. We will...
Yeah, you have plenty of time if anything else felt like it. If this fails, you got more than enough time.
I suppose we do. We are going to take some time to rest, recuperate. We may not have fought the battle you did, but it was still a battle hard fought. But once we are ready to leave Plundan, we will consider Paul's offer. And we will let him try. As for you, well, perhaps you should be more cautious. She gives you a bit of a smirk. We had refused it initially, but perhaps we would consider infecting you if it meant you wouldn't die every so often.
I'm already in debt. Did y'all happen to meet Hella too? when we during our match.
She shakes her head. You had knocked us into unconsciousness, not death.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better at least.
They give you a smile, and you all have our gratitude, Divine Five. We owe you our lives, or unlives, as it were. She gives you a smile, and if Paul fails, we plan to travel in search of a cure. Perhaps our paths will cross again someday.
Maybe it will. You'll have enough finances to help you on your journey.
One of the younger sisters pipes up with some amusement. Not particularly, but for creatures like us, money is not hard to come by. And she gives a wicked grin that shows off her fangs.
Maybe not, but he'll get into his coin bag and count out. Let's see. I think. Let's see how much I have. He's going to count out 1,000 gold. Hopefully, this will help you on your journey.
They look at the massive sum of gold with wide eyes and look to each other. And you can tell there's kind of a silent conversation happening. And the sister who you've noticed speaks by far the least of the three pipes up. Do you have any idea how much this is?
I do, and I have more, and I can always get more. I'm turning a new leaf in the book, as they say.
With this much money, we could easily find someone to cure us.
Well, let Paul try first, and then if he succeeds, use this money to start your lives over.
Perhaps we will. The oldest sister gives you a bow and deep gratitude, and thank you, Divine Five. She turns to look at Asari and Avaben. All of you. We owe you much. Your victory over us taught us a few things, and your salvation will not go without gratitude. If our paths should cross again, we shall pay kindness unto kindness. And with a curtsy, she makes to leave the room. The middle sister approaches you, Greylog, and kind of looks at you a bit awkwardly before patting you on the shoulder, and thank you. We'll try not to spend it all in one place, yeah?
Spend it however you wish.
And the youngest sister, seeming far less awkward, just launches at you into a hug. And as she hugs you, just, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of course.
But I guess I should say, and she bares her teeth playfully at you, thanks a lot.
That's a good one.
Bye-bye, Mr. Terra Tamer.
Hopefully we'll see each other again.
Maybe without having to knock each other out this time.
We can only have...
She gives you a playful grin and scurries out of the room to join her sisters.
would I love it much?
Eventually, after a few more days of travel on open sea, Imamu still hasn't been seen or found. The fighters, one by one, begin to leave the infirmary, all much like the victims you would say, passing on their deep gratitude and willingness to assist you if the need arises. And eventually the signal passes down from the crow's nest all the way down to the engine room, passing by all of you. Land ho! Tortage on the horizon. Gathering all of your things, the loot you managed to salvage from Plundan, given to you as recompense for a championship you didn't get the chance to get, and Paul with the Spear of Ares as a gift from Tamatwa to guard you on your travels. Is there any final business you all have on Plundan before you disembark to Tortage and the flotilla sails off to the open sea once more?
Yeah, I want to say goodbye to Justin.
As everyone's gathering their things, to your surprise, a lot of the minor league fighters have actually popped by the infirmary, likely to see you guys off. While the other victims are equally grateful, they didn't know you on the personable level that the people you shared a locker room with for a while did. And the samurai are in wait as you all gather your things. And Justin steps forward and tips his hat to you. Well, I suppose I have to hand it to you, Dr. Koo. In 1 week, you all did what people haven't been able to do for 100 years.
What
Yeah,
can I
she's
say?
very
We're
talented.
talented.
He gives the two of you a smirk, and you can see his eyes kind of playfully dart between the two of you before he gives a bow and, well, me and the rest of our minor league compatriots are just here to see you all off. With the tournament over, there's not much business on Plundan for us anymore. Our captains are going to pay us and drop us off in Tortage, and we're supposed to sort ourselves out from there.
What are your plans?
He kind of smiles and, tell you the truth, this tournament was meant to be my last hurrah. I'm an old soldier. I think it's time I retire. It's getting harder and harder for me to pull the trigger, for me to keep the rifle straight. I think it's time I swap out my rifle for a beer and make myself comfortable. The captain will pay us enough to keep us on our feet for a while, and me and these good old boys are gonna be sticking together for a while.
Yeah, find somewhere good to plant your roots.
I don't know about that. I may be too old to be a fighter anymore, but I don't think I'm quite ready to give up the action. Me and the boys are thinking about settling down in Tortage, finding ourselves a nice little place. The jungle has plenty of game, and from what I hear, if Tortage produces people like you, there's bound to be no shortage of adventures if I ever change my mind.
I honestly think Tortage is perfect for a person like you. I mean, you can still retire, but also still do the things that you love. Who says that you can't stop what you love just because you're retired?
Who indeed? I'll try to take your words as a compliment, Doctor. He holds out a hand to you.
I'll take his hand.
He gives you a grin and kisses your hand on the knuckle, And you can see he glances to Greylog, almost trying to gauge his reaction to him doing that.
Well, if you ever decide that you, since you are going to be leaving the fighting adventure and all that, I was thinking about opening a tavern, possibly.
Huh.
And I was going to see if maybe y'all would want to help me build one. I'm going to need people who can help me out with that. You'll be paid. Plus, if it's built well enough, I don't see why y'all can't have free drinks there for a while.
You had me at free drinks. I'd be more than happy to take up your offer, Mr. Orchin. Or do you still prefer the Tamer of Terrors?
Nah, Mr. Orchard will do.
He gives you a bow, and then I suppose we have a deal. We'll
Just
find
find
you.
me in Torridge later.
We'll come and find you all once me and the good old boys get ourselves set up in Torridge. A few of the others are planning to come with us, actually. But we'll see how many of them stick. I know a few of these folks, and he looks at the minor league fighters, planning to do some traveling. The fighting's still in their blood, after all. But y'all take care of yourselves, wherever your adventures happen to take you next.
You're the same.
He gives you a tip of the hat, and he kind of glances to you, sorry, and his expression becomes kind of unreadable and quiet before he, after a moment of pause, gives you a smile, and if this, and he gestures between you and Greylog, ever turns into something, my lady, may I have the honor and pleasure of walking you down the aisle?
That would be amazing.
He gives you a wide smile, and then until next we meet, mademoiselle.
You just get sorry with like the biggest like grin, and she like looks at Greylog like, you got competition now.
Oh, I'm afraid not. Taken, you see.
He,
And he reaches out, and Alfred, the silent man who's been following him since day one, takes it.
Yeah, sorry, just like puts her hand on her chest, like, no. Well, as long as you're happy, I'd still let you walk me down the aisle when it's time for me and him to hitch.
I would like nothing more, Dr. Koo. He gives you all a bow, and thanks for everything. And for what it's worth, we've had worse enemies. He gives a chuckle and a wink before the gambler of the Seven Samurai kind of clears his throat from the doorway. All right, enough of the sappy shit. We gotta get all our crap together. I'm hoping to hit the Tortage bars. And one of the other samurai kind of elbows him playfully, and they kind of start like a little bit of banter, and Justin kind of rolls his eyes and gives you all a smile. Adventuring parties, something about them. And with that, he gives you all a nod and makes his way out of the infirmary.
did the Terrafang triplets ever come to Paul yet?
Not yet.
No.
But from what the samurai told you, most of the fighters are just going to be paid by the captains who sponsored them and then dropped off in Tortage to fend for themselves. So the Terrafang triplets are going to be in town at least for a couple days. So you imagine they'll probably take the opportunity up then. And you know you guys are going to have some waiting to do while Anna and Dr. Ku try to track down the next artifact.
Not the artifact.
Well, the compass tells you whatever you want to find, so...
Oh. Okay.
As you all gather your things, you head up to the top deck, and Plundan, being far too large to dock directly, has simply anchored a distance away from Tortage, and you can see already the various exotic ships are making their way towards Tortage. But as you're all trying to figure out how exactly you're going to get there, who you're going to have to hitch a ride with, you hear from behind all of you as you've gathered your things and are looking over the side of the ship. You lads wouldn't happen to be in need of a ride to dock, would you? Turning, you see...
Do I recognize a voice?
Indeed you do. All of you turn and see Nitro hand in hand with his brother behind you. His brother looks much
Very
healthier.
just like happy face.
Nitro gives you all a kind of exhausted but no less genuine smile, and I don't know how you lads did it, but you managed to save me skin. They were gonna have me hanged for my part in the plan, but he kind of caresses his neck, and his brother pipes up. One of the brethren spoke up and convinced everyone to spare his life. Said that it was a favor to you. Said you would know what that meant.
I just kind of like just gleam.
But he kind of shuffles a bit awkwardly. The brethren tell me that I'm to make myself scarce, not to be seen back in Nassau or on Plundan again. And with that said, me and Nos here are a touch out of work. I was told that you have a crew that we could join.
Well, I am working on a tavern, or at least plans of one. If you need work, that I would pay pretty well. And room and board, drink.
Wait,
What all could someone ask for?
where would this tavern be?
He says he's planning to build it.
I was saying, where would it
Yeah, I'm
be? I
playing
was
it.
asking.
On the outskirts of town.
Wouldn't that still be in Plundan?
No. Plundan is the ship. He's saying in Tortage he's planning to set up a place. And Tortage isn't owned exclusively by the pirates.
So they can't outcast him from it technically.
He gives a bit of a smirk and I'll trust the generosity of our mutual ally to see to that. As long as I keep clear of the docks, I should be fine, I think. But for what it's worth, he gives you all a smile. If you ever have need of an extra set of hands, next time you're out to sea, finding what it is you're finding, well, my brother and I know the sea like the back of our hands now. We'd be more than happy to help you along, but we'll join your crew if you'll have us.
Yeah.
I think we would be fools not to accept you.
I don't know about that. Haven't you heard? I'm a filthy traitor, been exiled from the Brethren of the Coast.
All the reason to have you on board.
I like you, lass. He kind of jerks his head over his shoulder and, come on. I've got one of the long
Don't
ships in
forget
the
the part
ready.
where don't forget the part where you saved all the pirates on board the ship too.
I'll be sure not to forget it, because they sure as Hades did. But I suppose letting me live was their own way of thanking me. He kind of scratches the side of his head, and Captain Ray let a few things slip while she was hiring me. Said that, well, to be frank, pirates ain't got long, so she said it was probably best for me and Noss if we made ourselves scarce from the Black Flag for what's coming.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, adventuring is a bit of a step away from piracy, but now that you've reunited me with my little Noss, I think I can owe you that much. Who knows? If that treasure you're looking for is true, maybe we can take a share and settle down.
Well, worth a shot.
We got a longboat ready for you. After that, Plundan's gonna leave once all the fighters and exiles have made themselves scarce, and, well, I suppose all that's left is to start serving drinks at that tavern of yourn and see where the wind takes you next.
Yeah, still gotta build it, of course, but I got a few hands already wanting to help. Apparently, free drinks get you a long way around here.
And saving everybody's skin probably helps along with that. Seem to be making friends wherever you go.
Well, better than enemies.
That it is.
Got plenty of those.
Well, I think I've been away from shore long enough. Let's get to the longboats.
All will follow.
You all make your way down to the engine rooms, the crew and mercenaries of Plundan saying their farewells to you. And as Nitro takes you to the longboats, you make your way to shore. Not long after, Plundan begins to take its leave, fading into the horizon, forever on the run from those who would hunt it. The Brethren are spotted in Tortage over the course of the next few days, making their business arrangements and concluding their negotiations with one another before taking their leave. Brother Cancer, your benefactor, says nothing more to you, likely to avoid arousing further suspicion from the Brethren. Brother Scorpio, seemingly the only one who's aware of the extent of her plans, and more than willing to either support her or sell her out, depending on how well it goes.
Yeah.
Reunited with your comrades on the shore, Anna frantically relieved that you all made it back in one piece. And while news of the failure to retrieve the Wreath of Apollo does cast a somewhat dismal air, the news that the Boomerganger's influence had even touched the Brethren of the Coast seems to give Anna a renewed vigor that the artifacts need to be located, not just for the archaeological significance and potential monetary gain, but much like Avaben, your encounter with Imamu and Plundan seems to have convinced your comrades that the Boomergangers have to be stopped. They have to be prevented from gathering the keys as much as possible. What comes after that will need to be seen, but the first step to avoiding disaster is to avoid it and then prepare. But it remains to be seen if this particular flood is one that can be skirted or one that will simply be weathered. As you all settle back into your routine in Tortage, ready to relax into your downtime and start making preparations, some of you have the lingering thought that you might be forgetting something. But it's likely not important.
Can I think on
Am I
that?
forgetting something, Matthew?
Make a history check, both of you.
I mean, if we're all getting this great thought, I guess I'll make a history check as well.
Make a history check.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking for my dice.
It's like,
If the DM mentioned it, it must be important.
Roll 20, so 26.
Okay.
Okay, what's a Baben's plus for that? It's a history check.
Yes.
12.
12, 20. Paul?
8. Or not 8, 18.
18. Greylog?
Hang on, it's rolling slowly.
You need some like actual dice.
15. And I have actual dice. It's just not very good to roll in a separate truck, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
You need like a dice string.
Avaben, you're content that everything important has been tended to. But Greylog, that kind of nagging feeling doesn't go away, and after you guys settle back in at Tortage, Anna, again, relieved at your safe return, and while there, again, is dismay at losing the wreath, she listens to your story with rapt attention, seeming a little embarrassed about her mistake of thinking that it had been the Spear of Ares rather than the Wreath of Apollo. But she insists that she will get the next one right. And as you're all settling back in, Greylog overseeing construction of your tavern, Avaben bar hopping and relaxing around town, Asari and Paul seeing to your personal business, Flower and Fall visiting friends, Paul, Asari, and Greylog, the thought hits all three of you at around the same time. The leader of the Boomergangers said that he would meet with you soon. And as you all return to Anna, given that other than that and some of the local bars, it's the only place you really frequent in Tortage enough for him to know to look for you there. As the three of you regroup out front and enter Professor Plaster's laboratory, you see Plaster and Anna sitting at the research table, all of your notes on the artifact scattered in front of them, both looking incredibly nervous and frightened, and stepping out from the side of the doorway to block your entry and view of the two, a humanoid figure takes a stand in front of all of you as the master of the Boomergangers kind of almost like calmly and casually inspects his fingers and pipes up in a voice that has a kind of metallic, tingy echo to it. Well, certainly took you all long enough. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
I knew you were gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know, Matthew, that's only 2 hours.
Yes.
It's only
Okay,
2 hours.
how many levels do we get?
Yeah.
I've been
Yes.
waiting.
Relax. That's part of the reason I ended now, actually. So, with that, the master of the Boomergangers has come to meet you in person to see who exactly it is that's interfering so much with his operations. As promised, more and more people are becoming aware of all of you and your quest to seal or open the divine doorway, depending on who you ask. But that does mark the end of Chapter 3 of Under Locks and Keys, Trouble on the Tabletop. Captain Merrick escaped with the Pythian Wreath, but you all made it away safely, and the next artifact will need to be tracked. And for making it through an arena full of mercenaries and pirates and surviving your battle with the captain. You all level up not once, not twice, not even 3 times.
Oh.
You are all now level 12.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I was expecting like 3.
I called it. I told him
4
it was going to be
levels.
4 times.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
I was right.
And this campaign has now reached its halfway point. There are 8 chapters in total, and you have completed the prologue, chapters 1, 2, and 3, which means while there are technically 5 chapters to go, you have collected half of the artifacts, which means, or rather, you've accounted for half of the artifacts. So, in terms of overall structure, the campaign is half over. So I figure it's fitting that you would get a little over half of your overall levels.
I'd imagine the last chapter is intended to be like the max level chapter,
We shall see.
so that we actually have time to play around with being at that level.
Or maybe we never get the chance.
You have all acquired the Compass of Seeking, the Wind Breastplate, and the Forge Cast Pistol. The Boomergangers possess the Pythian Wreath and an unknown second artifact that is going to be instrumental in the opening of the doorway. You are all now level 12, and of course, as per the norm, once this meeting with the leader of the Boomergangers concludes, you will all get some downtime to, of course, gain proficiencies, set up operations, things of that nature. So feel free to consider all of that, as well as what you'll be doing for your level ups themselves. But yeah, you're all level 12 now, and normally I would do this at the interlude, but I'm willing to do it here. We will be taking next week off, but the week after, we will be picking up with the interlude leading into Chapter 4, at which point Chapter 4 will play out as expected. And I will do my usual outro stuff, but then stay tuned for the end, where the name of Chapter 4 shall be revealed, and may give you guys a little bit of a hint as to what to expect. There we go. Check out our website at officiald5hub.info. Resurrected from the grave like a filthy necromancer who has been crowned champion of a pirate tournament. Check out our link in chat to join our official D5 Discord server if you want to hang out with us directly. Support our episodes posted on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, the iHeart Podcast Network, wherever you happen to get them from. For our audio listeners, catch us live on Mondays at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time on twitch.tv/Odd Tornado Productions, and check out Odd Tornado Productions on YouTube to see what you may have missed. Check out Odd Tornado Productions Official on Tumblr to find links to our other works, including our Paladins Twitch channel at twitch.tv/AustinFreak123. If you enjoy what we do, please support us on Patreon. That link's about to be posted. On Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/Odd Tornado Productions, and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/TornadoOdd. The TNO are in fact capitalized if you want to get updates the moment we go live. And if you want to see more of this party, plus or minus a few, tune in tomorrow, Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time, for our Tuesday game of Black Ink and Blue Blood, featuring a party of politicians and nobles trying to unravel a political conspiracy if they can stop stabbing each other in the back long enough. Thanks, everyone at the table so much for playing. Thanks, everyone at home so much for watching. And we'll see you all next week. And tune in 2 weeks to see the interlude and start of Chapter 4 of Under Locks and Keys. Chapter 4, Black Blood and Blue Ink.
Oh. Interesting.
See you all next week.